In this program, Donna Presley offers a considered reflection prompted by recent public commentary. It invites viewers to examine the wider context, the evidentiary record, and the distinctions between contemporary retellings and lived reality.
Hello everyone, I'm Donna Presley and I'd like to welcome you to the Donna Presley official YouTube channel. I find myself compelled once more to correct the public record, as recent statements about Elvis bear little resemblance to the truth we lived and the history our family knows. When these claims are repeated publicly, they shape the world's understanding of a man whose legacy deserves accuracy and dignity. And so, with the same sense of responsibility I have always carried as his family, I speak again to bring clarity where confusion continues to grow. In recent interviews, Priscilla has given contradictory explanations for why she left her marriage to Elvis. At times, she says she simply left to live life on her own way. At other times, she insists she left because of the women around him. The reasoning shifts according to the moment, the platform, and the audience. A truth that is lived does not require such variation. Only a story does. And notably absent from these retellings is there any acknowledgement of her own affairs, which were known within the family and form part of the actual content. It is precisely because these contradictions persist that I feel an obligation to speak. When one version of events continually places blame in one direction, it becomes necessary to restore balance. The truth is that by the time the marriage ended, both Elvis and Priscilla had already stepped outside the relationship. They no longer understood one another. They no longer lived the same life, and their paths had already begun to separate. That's not a scandal. It is a reality of many marriages that have run their course. What concerns me is that even now, decades later, the responsibility is framed as his alone. At this stage of life, fairness would simply mean acknowledging that neither one of them remained faithful once the relationship had broken down. It is time to stop placing all blame on Elvis for a situation that belonged to both of them. I knew Priscilla when she was young. Her ambition, her fascination with fame, and her determination to position herself advantageously were visible from an early stage. She could be assertive when pursuing her aims and resolute when faced with challenge. These are not new traits. They are long-standing. Recently, many were troubled to see her laugh lightly while discussing deeply painful words written by her daughter. Those passages were not trivial. They came from real, deep hurt, and they deserve the sensitivity rather than amusement. Elvis's Christianity was sincere, steady, and central to who he was. He prayed, he studied scripture, and he drew strength from gospel music because it anchored him spiritually. For that reason, he would never have accepted Scientology being part of Lisa's upbringing. Anything that distanced a child from their family or reshaped their identity through an external belief system would have been totally unacceptable to him. And Priscilla knows without any doubt that Elvis would have been deeply angered, even outraged, by the idea of his daughter being drawn into something so completely at odds with his faith, his values, and the way he intended his child to be raised. Recently, I also heard Mr. Tom Hanks repeat a claim attributed to Priscilla Beaulieu that Elvis was a drug addict. This is simply not true. Elvis did not take medication to escape the pressures to get high or because of the pressures of fame. He took medication because he suffered from severe, documented, progressive medical conditions that caused him extraordinary pain. The distinction is essential. The medication issued during his Army service was the same medication routinely given to thousands of soldiers. It was standard military practice. It was not the beginning of anything, and attempting to link that period to his later health is inaccurate. Those soldiers did not return with drug problems, and Elvis was no different. His medical conditions came first. The medication followed because of those conditions. To suggest otherwise is a distortion, and we must remember the era. In the 1970s, medical understanding of pharmaceuticals, interactions, and long-term side effects was far more limited than it is today. Doctors prescribed differently because of the science had not yet progressed to what we now consider basic medical knowledge. Context matters. To label him as an addict is to ignore that content and to misrepresent a man who fought every single day to meet his commitments, despite physical suffering few understood. He pushed himself beyond the limits of ordinary endurance. Equally inaccurate is the familiar claim that Colonel Parker controlled Elvis. He did not. Elvis was perceptive, intelligent, and independent. He accepted advice only when it aligned with his own judgment. When it did not, he simply set it aside. He was not controlled by anyone. I must also politely correct Mr. Tom Hanks on another matter. Priscilla Beaulieu is not Elvis's wife, and she is certainly not his widow. She is his ex-wife. Their marriage ended years before his passing, and that fact matters when someone speaks publicly as though they hold final authority over his private life. To be fair to Mr. Hanks, he likely does not realize the account that he has repeated reflects a one-sided retelling rather than the full reality. I don't blame Mr. Hanks at all. The situation is complex, and those involved can be entirely believable in how they present their version of events. But for the sake of historical accuracy, and in fairness to Elvis himself, I must set the record straight. I should also add a point of clarification on behalf of Elvis regarding public life and politics. Mr. Hanks referred to the use of fame, whether in acting, music, or entertainment, as a platform for political expression. Elvis held a very different view. He believed firmly that an entertainer's role was to uplift, to unify, and to offer relief from the pressures of the world, not to influence political outcomes. He stated this publicly more than once, and he lived by it. Within the family, we were all well aware of his private political leanings, but he regarded those views as personal, not performative. He felt strongly that audience did not come to hear political opinions from show business figures, and he refused to use his celebrity as a tool for political messaging. It is important to correct this, as it reflects a core part of his integrity and the respect he held for his fans. There are individuals who were extremely close to Elvis, people he spoke to openly and without hesitation after the divorce. They heard directly from him how he regarded Priscilla and how he truly viewed the end of their marriage. What he expressed to them was not warm, not conflicted, and not nuanced. It was direct, decisive, and unmistakably firm. Whether they ever choose to share their experiences is entirely their decision. But their accounts make one thing clear. Elvis's private feelings were very different from the polished narrative being offered today by one person. Within the Presley family, our understanding of Elvis has never required revision. It has remained steady across decades because it is rooted in what we genuinely lived. It has not shifted with trends or interviews. It has not required reinvention. The later years, with all their burdens, tenderness, humor, and complexity, were known intimately to the family members who were present. His struggles, his generosity, his faith, and the enormous weight he carried were witnessed by those who truly shared his private world, not by those now reshaping their roles for modern platforms. I speak now because silence allows inaccuracies to grow. Elvis cannot correct these claims himself. Lisa cannot speak for herself, and the public deserves a truthful account, one free from contradiction, omission, or self-serving narrative. This is not spoken in bitterness, believe me. It is spoken in responsibility. Elvis deserves honesty. His daughter deserves honesty. And the public deserves clarity. In a world where memories can be rearranged, where narratives drift, and where motives evolve, truth remains the one thing that does not change. Those who truly understood Elvis, not the legend, not the headline, but the man, will continue to protect that truth with dignity and conviction. If you want the authentic story, I welcome you to stay with me as we continue honoring Elvis Presley with accuracy, clarity, and with love. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Until the next time, God bless.
Donna Presley's reflections stand as part of her ongoing stewardship of the historical record of Elvis Presley.